A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. You duped me, O Lord, and I let myself be duped. You were too strong for me, and you triumphed. All the day I'm an object of laughter. Everyone mocks me. Whenever I speak, I must cry out. Violence and outrage is in my message. The word of the Lord has brought me derision and reproach all the day. I say to myself, I will not mention him. I will speak in his name no more. But then it becomes like a fire burning in my heart, imprisoned in my bones. I grow weary holding it in. I cannot endure it. The word of the Lord.
I reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. I urge you, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, your spiritual worship. Do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect. The word of the Lord.
Be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer greatly from the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. Then Peter took Jesus aside and began to rebuke him. God forbid, Lord, no such thing shall ever happen to you. He turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle to me. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do. Then Jesus said to his disciples, Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. What profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what can one give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man will come with his angels in his Father's glory, and then he will repay all according to his conduct. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, good morning. You know, when I was in college, I realized there was an interesting phenomenon that was happening on our campus. Almost every person, especially the students, but almost every person who was walking on campus had either earbuds or earphones or something. They were playing noise directly into their brains, right? This is what every person was doing, and I made a decision that I was going to try to say hello to as many of these people as I could. And it was kind of fun because nobody was expecting it, right? And so you walk by, you're like, hey, and they get all flustered and they don't know what to do. It's like they've never said hi to somebody before, right? But it was fascinating that the 60-second walk to class, the idea that I was going to do that in silence, or just have just kind of the natural sounds around me, was so unbearable, right? That they couldn't I'm sure it wasn't even a conscious decision at that point. They've been training themselves so much to put these earbuds in, right? They've been training themselves so much to get used to this constant noise that, again, just this walk across campus, they couldn't go without it, right? And we live already in a really noisy society, right? Whether it's just the earbuds or there's just so many different voices that are constantly competing for our attention. And this is what I was thinking about as we got to this gospel, right? Because Jesus says, what profit would there be for one to gain the whole world and yet forfeit his soul? Or what can one give for one's life? Right? And it's because Jesus understands that even 2,000 years ago, before iPhones even existed, there were still all these noises. There were still all of these voices that were constantly competing for our attention, saying, you come and follow me. And it's easy for the voice of God, for the voice of Christ, to kind of get lost amidst the shuffle. And then you get to this aspect, right, when you finally hear the voice of the Lord. His sales pitch is, come this way because we've got the cross. I think you need to work on that sales pitch maybe. That's not very exciting to me, right? Why go? Why go to the cross? He says right before this part, what profit would there be? He talks about it. Anyone who's going to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Why go? Why go? Well, the reason that we go, right, and the reason that the cross is important, and the reason that it's actually, I actually think a decent sales pitch is that the cross is inevitable, in that suffering is inevitable. It does not matter which voice you follow. Your life will not be perfect. Your life will not be without trials. Your life will not be without sufferings and tragedies and all sorts of mishaps, all sorts of different aspects of pain and struggle, right? This is just part of what it means to be a person. And we've got all these voices that are trying to pretend that you won't have these, right? They're just trying to pretend. Or they're trying to say, like, you know what, yeah, you're gonna have some of these different things, but if you come my way, we'll just mask over it. We'll just plaster over top of it so you don't have to face any of that pain. You don't have to deal with any of that struggle. You can just kind of relax and kind of wallow into this mediocrity where you know that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you probably should deal with, but you don't really want to. If you come with me, you don't have to. Right? That's the allure of all these different things, right? Fame, riches, power, pleasure, money, right? They all promise the same thing. You don't have to deal with your pain. I think that's actually what makes Christianity, what makes Jesus so attractive, is that the Lord actually is going to make you deal with your pain. Right? Again, the cross is an inevitable part, and it's a really beautiful part. Right? Because what the Lord is going to do is he's going to have you face your pain. He's going to have you face your brokenness. He's going to have you face these struggles and these trials and these difficulties and these tragedies. And what he's going to do is he's going to say, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. In fact, you're not supposed to. Because these things are too big. They are too powerful for you. But they're not for me. And so if you just embrace that part of the cross, what you actually get is not just the sufferings, but you get the blessings, right? You get not just the death, but you get the resurrection. You get not just this moment of trial, but you get the moment of ultimate victory. So what profit does it give a man to gain the whole world and yet forfeit his soul? So, brothers and sisters, as we come before the Lord here this morning, right, the Lord is inviting us to the cross. We're not going to make any mistakes about that. We don't have to mince words about that. The Lord is inviting us to the cross, right? That is the only way. But this is not suffering for the sake of suffering, and it's not like pain for the sake of pain, right? We go to the cross with the Lord in order to make of ourselves that pleasing offering. We go to the cross with the Lord in order to experience that blessing of resurrection. We go to the cross with the Lord in order to rise with the Lord. And so wherever you find yourself, right, maybe you're in a moment where you're really down. And you're wondering, why am I even here? I don't see God. I don't see any sense of light or hope. I understand you're in the right place. You're in the right place because it's here that suffering can be transformed, and it's here that hopelessness can be flipped into hope. It's here that darkness can have light shed upon it. It's here in the Lord and with the Lord that all those things can be transformed. And maybe you're not in that kind of a spot. Maybe you're in a spot where you're kind of on this spiritual high. Wonderful. The Lord's inviting you to the cross too, because there's still stuff to deal with. Right? I guarantee you, as good as your life is, you have not attained perfection. And if you think you have, please come talk to me out in the gathering space after Mass. We can figure that out together. Right? There's still stuff to deal with. And in that place where I'm on this kind of spiritual high, that's actually a great time to start uncovering and unmasking some of those things that I've decided can lay dormant for a while, maybe a month, a year, a decade, right? These different things that I know I need to deal with, that I know I need to face, but sometimes seem too scary. Right? This is the time, and you're in the right place. Because as I tear the masks off and as I let the Lord into all those things, again, I don't have to do it myself. Right? But it's His grace. It's His blessing. It's His light. Because ultimately it's His healing. Right? He doesn't offer you the entirety of the world the way some of these other voices do. But He does offer you perhaps an even better gift. He offers you the gift of yourself. The gift of yourself healed and whole. And that's what we get through the cross, right? It's this weird paradox that it's only through the pain, it's only through the death that the healing and the life can come. And so, brothers and sisters, let's not be afraid of it. Understanding that the sufferings are coming no matter what. And we can choose to either ignore them and pretend like they don't exist. We can choose to be completely crushed by them, or we can choose this way of the cross, this way of the Lord. Right? Which means that I got to go through it in order to get to the other side. Brothers and sisters, the grace to go through it is offered here at this altar, because here at this altar, the same cross of Christ is made present once again. The same sacrifice of Christ is made present once again. The idea that the Lord is going to ask us to go through these sufferings is something that He Himself was willing to undertake, and it's what is offered here in this Eucharistic celebration. So as we receive the sacrifice of Christ, as we receive the blessing and the life of Christ, let's not be afraid of the cross. The cross is inevitable. The cross is coming. And perhaps for some of us, the cross is already here. Right? Let's allow the Lord to do His work. And let's invite Him into those places of pain. Let's invite Him into those places of darkness. Let's invite Him into those places that we'd rather not look at, that we have been pretending don't exist. Let's invite Him into those places. Understanding that this is how we silence some of those other voices. This is how we start to kind of focus and narrow that scope so we don't have to play noise into our brains, but we can actually hear the voice of the Lord as he invites us deeper, as he invites us into more. So we can experience that love and that mercy. We can experience that hope and that peace. Right? It's found there in the cross. And it's found there in the cross because it's only through it. It's only through the cross that we then experience the resurrection.